Cloud Imperium Games, we believe art inspires the best technology. And through the development of that technology, it pushes us to create even better art. When Genesis comes to the persistent universe starting next year, it will change how you experience every world, and not just in the building of the new planets for the Nyx system. We will also go back through Stanton and Pyro and reimagine them through the lens of our technology. Previously, and more traditionally, we'd create slices of biomes, like deserts or forests. This approach moved us forwards and got us this far, but solving the scale was always tricky. And for Star Citizen, we like to do scale on another level. Issues like seeing tiling from our height maps from high altitude, or the unpredictable blending when two biomes connected, were common. But ultimately, things just never felt right. Our worlds were gorgeous, but to us, they still sometimes felt like interpretations. Now, this was a super hard problem, which we needed to solve at the scale for Star Citizen requires. We challenged ourselves to emulate nature in the most believable way, and not just on a planetary scale, but to our level of detail. With
that's
Genesis,
pretty.
We've made a complete paradigm shift to how we do things. Biomes are now created based on the physical data sets, with the assets being spawned whenever and wherever the correct criteria is found. So when you see a forest or a meadow, it's no longer because an artist painstakingly crafted it there. It's now because it simply wants to be there. It fits inside our rules. Genesis also ties into our other gameplay systems. Our new planets are built from the information we create for our different datasets, like height maps, humidity, temperature, soil type, soil amounts, geology erosion data, to name but a few. This means
that's looking
you can
way
now tell
better.
where to find valuable minerals as the geology looks like it would be suitable for it. Where scree piles exist below sheer cliff faces, and where rocks have broken off over time due to erosion. Of course, these new tools still give us the ability to direct the look and
That's
feel
funky.
we want. The attention to detail from the tallest mountain to the smallest flower is still our core DNA. With Genesis, we can now keep that detail-orientated mindset as we focus on the quality, and it provides the quantity. Genesis provides our planets with the ultimate sense of exploration and adventure, discovery in the purest emotional form. We want you to find that perfect place, with the planets providing an abundant resource to harvest. This is a major part of what exploration is for us. We want that feeling of finding a corner of the universe that you'll fall in love with, and where you want to settle down and build your home. Now I'm going to hand you over to Will.
Yeah,
to
that's
go
very
deeper
pretty.
into what we have built that allows Genesis to realize our vision. As a reminder, some of the visuals you'll see will evolve and change as we continue our technological development and hone in on the final look for Nyx.
Thanks, Ian. So, in case it's not already clear, Genesis is our name for a group of technologies that are improving our ability to build worlds, refining those that we've already created, and ultimately expanding our persistent universe to the scale and quality that we all expect. I work on planet tech, so let's talk about how that's continued to evolve since our presentation last year. And instead of just highlighting some really cool biomes that we can create,
Well, they're using it
let's
on
go
Nyx.
ahead and show how all this work applies to the
So,
upcoming planets of Nyx. So there are 3 planets.
Nyx are going to be the first ones that you see using this
is a
tech.
gas giant, and I think it's blue. It's not going to surface. I don't really know. Nyx 2 is a yellow, toxic. It's got like this high pressure atmosphere, and it's like a very volatile planet with high risk reward gameplay. It's gonna have some really interesting biomes for you to discover, but for now, just know it's gonna be dangerous, because today we're gonna focus on what we consider to be the hero planet of this system. Nix 1 has got a rugged, remote beauty. It's got a diverse set of biomes, from weathered rocky mountain ranges to vast sweeping forests and grasslands, and from damp expansive wetlands to claustrophobic festering swamps.
That's my new candidate for a base.
These core biome concepts give us a fantastic platform to hone our technology, in some cases because the current tech couldn't do them at all, or because we want to completely step up our game for them. So, let's approach this planet in much the same way that you, the player, will, from orbit. The orbit appearance of the planets going forward is far more tied to what is present on the surface. Previously, we had different data that drove the orbital and ground coloring. That's because the orbit was designed to look like vegetation that we'd place on the surface, and the ground coloring was trying to be a mix of soil, rock, and the organic compound coloring that forms the kind of colors there. Now we author much more of the data in a unified way. When you look at Earth, you see blues and greens for ocean and vegetation, and brown or yellowy tones for sand and soil. We wanted to keep it as simple as that. The same set of textures and data that define the color of the soil, sand, and rock on the ground are used to create the orbital look. We then assess the presence of vegetation and competition between different species on each part of the planet, and use that to blend in tones of green, including variations due to species health and the current season. This creates a far more complete image and allows you to identify features, geologies, and potential points of interest all the way from space. Let's go down to the surface and start with something closer to what you're used to, but in a whole new light. When we approached the surface of the planet, we wanted to start by focusing on just the soil and rock. One of the things that was missing from our terrain previously was simply feature complexity. Looking at our contemporaries, we lacked detail at the ground scale. To combat this, we've added a new layer of data. That layer is called the medium tiles. These are intelligently placed on top of the existing 4-kilometer terrain tiles based on slope, soil type, and other erosion data. And these medium tiles don't just create height changes, they also bring in local erosion data both for soil and bedrock size values. And this gives us a whole new level of terrain detail, of scale, and allows us to create far more unique locations across the planet. So now that we've nailed the surface, let's have a look at
That looks
adding some
fantastic,
rocks.
doesn't it?
We've now got two major contributors to the rock content of our planets. Firstly, long-desired feature, cliffs. We are adding large-scale, varied detail to all our cliffs based on the geology at a given location. This adds an exciting new dimension to steep slopes that we simply couldn't get before. The second is a big one for you ground vehicle enthusiasts. Rocks are now found not scattered everywhere, like spilt popcorn at the cinema, but only in places you'd expect to find them, thanks to a brand new rock scattering algorithm that isn't annoying as hell. Using physical data generated for each large and medium tile, now rock distribution makes sense and has a physical basis. So if you're still crashing into them after this comes out, that's on you. The rock assets themselves have had a glow up too. We now create rock sets related to a particular geology that look like they originated from the same source. And this ties into how we'll be distributing minables in much more interesting ways too.
Yeah, looks good, doesn't it?
So now that our base terrain and rock scattering looks good, let's add some vegetations and explore some additional biomes. Nix 1's forests and grasslands are full of trees, various grass species, rock formations, and they're found in all sorts of elevations like mountain valleys, open plains, and dense meadows. And when we start to add a bit of fresh water, they begin transitioning into more wetland-type biomes.
Yeah, this is definitely where I'm
While
building my
forests
base.
are super cool. Let's focus on the grasslands and wetlands today. So, how are we making these look so great? Obviously, we've had grass before, but never meadows of it. Because until now, we haven't been able to spawn grass in large enough quantities or effectively represented at distance. So we're stepping up our game in terms of spawning, shaping, and shading grass. With Genesis, we now leverage GPU spawning to create vast quantities of assets across all biomes, whether it be dense meadows or more complex collections of ground cover like you can see in these wetlands. We are also able to fit our grass tiles to the ground by conforming them to the unique terrain underneath. Now we can finally cover complex terrain shapes with grass and ground cover assets, and as a result they are now gravity aligned, meaning each blade is oriented as you'd expect and not sticking out like before. Next, let's take a look at how we light our grass. Now, as in real life, the shading of a grass blade, or indeed a whole field of grass, is lit very differently to like a flat surface. We now use a solution that shades meadows of grass far more like fur or hair. And this, if you think about it, makes sense. At a distance, a field of grass is far more like a carpet or cloth than a flat surface. This improves how our grass looks from a near perspective, as well as bringing us nicely into how we're solving the distant representation of grass. So, let's talk about the distance problem. One of our biggest achievements with Genesis is allowing us to build beautiful biomes out of flora and geology assets like a building set. Can I say Lego?
No.
Too late. But in the past, this broke down very quickly when objects simply disappeared when viewing the same biome from 10, 20, 100 kilometers away. Because we don't hide planetary transitions and allow you to view complex regions from very large distances, there are almost infinite perspectives from which you can see a location in Star Citizen. So, how can we afford to evaluate complex spawning logic at runtime for the entire swathes of the planet? Enter the virtual terrain. Virtual terrain, or VT for short, is how we now cache and represent our terrain at varying scales. This has been the enabler for all of the lovely advances in terrain complexity and asset spawning we've shown so far. And it's also how we now evaluate and represent vegetation from a distance. When creating the VT for each part of the terrain, we assess if vegetation has covered the ground, and if so, what shading should be applied. For all of our biomes, we're now able to use the same shading model for the distant representation as the close-up asset, whether that's our lovely rolling hills, some more dramatic rockscapes, those muggy wetlands, or even our festering swamps. So yeah, we didn't forget about the swamps, and they're coming to Nix 1 as well. Built
Nice.
using the lessons learned and all the technologies we've developed, these swamps now spring into existence from the planetary data. This biome combines all of the elements from the other biomes we've shown you today, from water interaction, denser spawning, unique ground coverage, and I think it creates something really unique. Anyway, that's our update on the Planet Tech portion of Genesis and how we're using it right now to sculpt the identity of Nix 1. And I hope you're as excited as we are to explore this and everything we haven't shared yet next year.
I'm going to spend hours there.
As you can see, Genesis is now inspiring everyone here to create planets of the quality and believability we've always strived for. A meeting of technology and art that I truly believe will set our worlds apart from anything we've done before. And with that said, let's move on to a little travel between systems, literally. Up until now, our mission system has been specific to the star system you're in, meaning a Stanton mission has to take place in the Stanton system, and a Pyro mission has to take place there. We've never been able to link these together, but with the introduction of our third star system, it's time for this to change. And that begins with the introduction of interstellar cargo.
What are you talking about today?
System-to-system hauling missions. Hauling is back.
No one said hauling was gone. He doesn't even play the game.
These are exactly what they say on the tin. Missions where you're going to start in, say, Stanton and end in Nix, taking various volumes of cargo between the stations. So there'll be high volumes of cargo that kind of fulfill the purpose for the Hull C and the other series of Hull ships. And there'll be a few sort of more direct routes.
So you might pick up some cargo from Ruin Station in Pyro and go through the jump point to Stanton and drop it off there at one of the Helios.
So if you've never sort of experienced the jump point or going through it, these missions will require you to. They're no way limited. You can do them in any sort of ship you want, any size of ship. I'll be doing them in my Drake cutter myself, between Stanton and Nix.
Oh, I may need to pull out the whole sea.
I've got a few ships, but the Drake cutter is really cute, so.
One thing that we're looking to add with these interstellar missions is scripted combat encounters where you can be attacked by NPC ships. Maybe the mission giver has tipped off some pirates who are looking to get a hold of that cargo, as well as express missions, which means the deadline timers that you're used to in the regular hauling missions might get really tight and you've got to learn to be very fast. All of the love and care that has gone into hauling missions so far, with the logistical network and making sure they make sense within the themes of the systems, just as much love has gone into the interstellar missions we're making now.
At the start of the show, we said we was going to build out the Nix system right in front of you after 4.4 launches next month, and why we want to keep as much of what we're doing behind closed doors so you can discover it for yourself, in-game and on your own. We still are excited to share with you a brief look at one of our up-and-coming locations we're calling Rockcracker.
Oh, that looks cool.
Okay, so Rockcracker, Jared, is our internal name.
Rockcracker is where you have to crack a rock. It's a big rock. You want more?
So way out into the Keegar Belt, you'll find these old QV breaker stations. These were originally industrial facilities breaking apart large asteroids and mining them down. But since they've been mothballed and been left abandoned. So you're going to have to find your way inside and thinking about how do we bring this facility back to life. It's not just about flipping a switch. As you bring these stations back to life, you'll be lighting the beacon and calling attention to these long forgotten places.
One of the main features is the laser head, which will require certain things to get working. It's up to you and your friends to find how to get in.
There'll be a variety of options. Whether you're discovering the bowels of the station and mining your way through long-forgotten tunnels, or you're going through the main laser entrance. Now, as you're traversing through the facility, you'll find the old engine room. Now, there may be ways to bring the facility back to life, kickstart the engines, and bring power to different parts of the facility. Maybe eventually bringing the laser back online and cracking some rocks.
The secondary gameplay loop is FPS combat. You're not there by yourself.
There may be squatters and outlaws in these stations trying to stop you from what you want to do.
There's no maybe about it. It's going to be missions, isn't it?
So you've found these old facilities, you've brought them back to life. You've systematically brought power to various functions of the facility. You've activated the laser. You've fired the laser. You've broken apart the rock. And then you'll be able to fly your ship inside and see what's there.
So you fly a ship into an asteroid?
Yeah. You just get into your ship and fly in and start searching around and trying to find the pieces that you want to mine.
I'm really excited about Rockcracker because it's a sandbox activity. You can kind of go to these whenever you want to.
This content is for players who enjoy mining, who enjoy exploration, investigation, and don't mind a little bit of FPS content while they're there.
It will be a very new experience compared to any other asteroids, because this one, kind of like Alan and mine, will crack open and show its secret.
And one presumes you can make a decent amount of scratch. Asteroid that's big enough, you fly your spaceship into it.
It wouldn't be worth doing if you couldn't make a good amount of coin, yeah.
Making promises for the Econ team.
Yeah, they've got to balance it.
It's for people who want a lot of minerals. When crafting comes in, when all the other mechanics and features that we want in the game for 1.0 come in, it will be a place where like an organization or a group of like 5-6 people could come and just get a monumental amount of minerals.
So that's a look at some of what's coming over the next 12 months.
That's
In
looking
addition
pretty
to
cool.
what
I
we've
like that.
shown, there'll be new mission packs tailored to the People's Alliance and their struggles. There'll be events that invest you into the evolving storyline of all 3 systems we'll have in the game. And of course, when we begin populating these with new planets, there'll be a whole host of ground-based POIs, settlements, and structures inhabited by those trying to make their way in the verse. And all of this in service of building star systems that complement the massive corporate yard of Stanton, the lawless ganking of Pyro, and now the new frontier of discovery for the Nyx system. Should I say ganking?
You already did.